Biden just met with Larry Summers. Larry Summers, if you don't know, of NAFTA fame, Larry Summers of Glass-Steagall fame, Larry Summers of name your economic policy that has destroyed the masses. And Larry Summers' brilliant advice is if we're going to tame inflation, we need to fire 10 million people. It's not The Onion. This is from Market Watch. Former U.S. Secretary Larry Summers says there needs to be a surge in unemployment to curb inflation, which Federal Reserve policy makers say doesn't need to happen for price growth to cool off. According to Bloomberg, Summers said in a speech on Monday from London that there needs to be a lasting period of higher unemployment to contain inflation, a one-year spike to 10%, 2 years of 7.5% unemployment, or 5 years of 6% unemployment. Put in a different way, Summers is calling for the unemployment rolls to swell to roughly 16 million from just under 6 million in May. So that would be 10 million more being fired or, getting being thrown off the rolls. President Biden said he spoke with Summers on Monday, with Biden echoing Secretary Janet Yellen of the Treasury Department, maintaining that a U.S. recession can be avoided. The way Summers framed the numbers suggests he's talking about what's known as the sacrifice ratio, which is the link between unemployment and inflation. Steve, before you drop your wisdom, first of all, the unemployment number right now, quote unquote, historically low, is bullshit. God knows how many people are not even counted because they stopped looking. There's been a record number of people who quit their jobs. What is that? The Great Resignation. And there's a whole lot of gig and freelance work. So Biden's pushing this economic recovery because we have a low unemployment number. As we've talked about many times, that doesn't necessarily mean everything's dandy and that's the actual number of unemployed people. But it's just striking to me, instead of the many things Biden can do to lower inflation, which I'm sure we'll talk about, he's listening to Larry Summers. Larry Summers shouldn't even be allowed in Washington, D.C., much less the White House, who's saying the answer is let's increase unemployment.
Yeah. I mean, this is hurt. I don't even know if I can get amped up. This is so devastating to me. I have PTSD from these moments where they use what they call NARU. And for those of you who are not familiar with what NARU is this economic term. It's basically the non-accelerating rate of inflation of unemployment. And what that means is it is basically the level of unemployment at which it tames inflation. It stops inflation. So what they're in essence trying to do is they're trying to create a group of people, a massive amount of people who unwillingly will become unemployed. They're going to make people that actively want work to be unemployed. Now, just let's look at this before we get into the economic side of this. Let's just look at the social side of this. Think about how many absolutely disgraceful human beings exist that blame people that are unemployed as ne'er-do-goods, as moochers, as loafers, as leeches, as on the dole, as useless, as feckless, all this stuff, right? This is the standard narrative that not just conservatives say, but your faithful Democrats, because let's be fair, no Republican ever appointed Larry Summers. That is a Democrat right there. That is your Democratic Party, and he is royalty within the Democratic Party. I want you to let that sink in for a minute so no one gaslights me. I don't want anybody to gaslight me. I can't handle it right now. This is your Democratic Party, Larry Summers, okay? Larry Summers is recommending that in order to tame inflation, rather than any number of things like actually building out infrastructure to free up supply chains or putting price controls on or any number of things, right? Raising tariffs up on imports and stuff to keep the jobs home. I mean, there's a million different things that we could do to go ahead and keep prices in our own hometown down. We could absolutely subsidize gas prices. We could do anything. There's a bazillion things. Almost none of them have to do with raising taxes, and definitely none of them have to do with actually firing and laying people off. The other aspect of it is this. If your supply chains are broken, okay, if your supply chains are broken, you don't go ahead and try to tame inflation by taking away productive capacity to meet your supply chains. It's just a stupid idea. It's just an idea born in ignorance. Okay. But this, coupled with interest rate rising, okay, these are two of the most major things that destroy an economy. Add in the fact that the federal government has literally stopped all spending. We're talking about Biden celebrating $2 trillion in deficit reduction. This is a total class war on us and the elite. Okay. There's no other way of saying it. You, I, the little people, will be the bearers of the pain and suffering of this inflation that is brought on largely by price gouging and a pandemic that brought on supply chain disruptions. Okay. You're going to put that on the poor and those people that want to work. I want you to also think about this. In this country, most people these days are not getting hired as permanent employees. Most are getting hired as contract employees. They get a year contract. If the project's still going on, they stay employed. If the contract is not going on, they get laid off. And then every Tom, Dick, and Harry scowls at them, talking about how bad they are. Why didn't you make better? How come you're always in financial trouble? People don't realize this. I live this on a daily basis. This is my life. And so every contract, when it ends, there's a long gap between trying to find another job. During that time, your mortgage didn't stop having to be paid. During this time, your car payment didn't stop having to be paid. During this time, your child support didn't have to stop being paid. During this time, back taxes didn't stop having to be paid. But all of a sudden, everybody wonders why you're doing so badly. Everybody wonders why you can't be more responsible. How come this problem happened to you, Steve? How come your taxes are behind? How come your child support's behind? How come you can't make your house payment? How come your car is getting repossessed? How come your family just left you? How come your life is a living shithole? Okay, you must be irresponsible. Well, I'm showing you right now, this is government manufactured. This is intentional. This is what happened during the global financial crisis. It's happened so many times. This Nauru, okay? Remember this. And it's been debunked forever. It's just like rising interest rates. The only thing rising interest rates do is kill the economy. And yeah, I guess prices go down when nobody can buy stuff. And I guess if you lay off 10 million, 16 million people, they can't buy stuff. That might have an impact on prices because people can't buy stuff. Do you think it hurts the rich? Do you think it even hurts them? Do you think they'll even notice it? They'll walk right over your body as you're laying dead on a sidewalk. They don't care. So as we're looking at this, remember, this is the Democratic Party. This isn't the Republicans. Larry Summers is not Ronald Reagan's right arm guy from the dead. This is the guy that, literally was Bill Clinton's guy. This is Obama's main squeeze behind the scenes. And now you got Jolton Joe Biden doing the same thing. Now, some people in the audience may get angry at me for admitting the truth. I don't know why they don't like the truth, but they don't, apparently. Some people just literally hate when I tell the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
That's it. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear it. I'm sorry, but that's all I do. And that's why it hurts so bad when I have to tell stories like this. It's why it hurts so bad when I talk about state by state, or it's why it hurts so bad when I talk about other things. These economic stories I'm telling you about, this is not something I'm just making up. But if it goes against something you feel, then suddenly it's information you didn't want to hear and you can't handle the truth. Exactly, Jordan. So right now, they're about to lay off. This is what's going to happen. It's not like this is what's going to happen. When they start raising interest rates and people can't afford stuff, that is going to cause the layoffs. You see what I'm saying? This is a cause and effect. They want to jack the interest rates up high enough to create the kind of unemployment that Larry Summers is begging for. Again, this isn't, oh my God, if Ronald Reagan does this, or oh my God, Mitt Romney, or oh my God, Donald Trump, or oh my God. No, this is how fascists are made. People didn't like me saying that either. But when people's economic conditions hurt so badly, and they look and they say, who did this to me? And once again, it's Democrats being austerity driven. Okay. Remember my hashtag, my code name on Twitter is austerity is murder. This is austerity. And if that hurts your feelings, I'll get you a doctor. I'll hook you up with a phone number, somebody to call, because this is truth. And if you don't live in truth, we can't fix the problem. And the problem is a lack of economic understanding. When somebody like myself says something that people don't like to hear, their ears bleed. They get angry. They say all sorts of horrible things about my character. Evil, in my opinion. But that's another story. The fact is that this is going to happen again. For those of us that lived through the global financial crisis and were out of work for 18 months, 2 years, watching the grass grow taller than us, crawling on the floor, looking through the slats as people come knocking on the door to foreclose. This is what we were talking about. And this is coming.
But what I find incredible, there's a new study that basically shows we're living in just an endless bank robbery. Study shows excessive corporate profits in the U.S. have become widespread. A new research paper finds that corporate price markups and profits jumped to their highest levels in 7 decades. A new paper published Tuesday shows that U.S. corporate price markups and profits surged to their highest levels since the 1950s last year, bolstering arguments for an excess profits tax as a way to rein in sky-high inflation. Authored by Mike Konskol and Nico Luziani of the Roosevelt Institute, the analysis finds that markups, the difference between the actual cost of a good or service and the selling price, were both the highest level on record and the largest one-year increase in 2021. If you can be charging this insane amount for gas instead of increasing supply, if you could price gouge, you don't need those subsidies. We're taking them away, which, I don't know. I think some of these oil companies would fold. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it just seems like when it's Wall Street, falling off a cliff, the Fed and the U.S. government act very quickly, but they can't really get creative when it comes to working people right now that are being decimated.
Yeah, I mean, the fire sector doesn't create anything. Literally, investment does not create anything anymore. Corporations are no longer creating products. They are basically a portfolio. They manage their portfolios. When the stocks that are within their portfolio don't do well, they sell them off and they let them die. Jack Welch back in the day used to say we're either number 1 or number 2 in an industry. If we're not, we're getting rid of it. Okay. His guy Ram Charan echoed that. This is long since the way that business does things. Okay, period. And for us, if we as a nation don't realize that the reason why the little people have to be kept hungry, kept this way, is because the rich can't stay comfortable and fat the way they want to be, living off of their interest on their money, living off of their investments instead of actually working. If they can't do that, they're going to be pissed, and that's who pays the politicians' bills. Okay, we are down here as chattel, basically, to serve them. This is a neo-feudal state we're living in. This is your capitalism, my friends. This is what you all love because you hate the word socialism and all the other stuff. This is it. This is capitalism. This is what it does. This is how it operates. It's been this way since forever. And going way back, I always refer to this, but I can't get it out of my head how poignant it is. Vladimir Lenin and his paper, Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism. This right here is in there talking about the fire sector and how finance capital, global finance capital operates. This is what we're up against. Okay. And this is what we're serving. You keep thinking I make this mistake too. I'm not gonna lie. Every once in a while, I think for a minute that these guys are here to serve me and it's not working for me. So why not? The reason it's not working for me is because I'm not the target audience. I'm not the one they're serving. They're serving the people that are in the fire sector that are doing well. That's who they're serving. And that's who they'll always serve as long as we allow this to happen. People think I'm getting radical. I am. I must admit I am. I'm to the point now where I'm tired of people taking it and rolling around and crying about it and talking about it over and over again, unwilling to do something about it. Okay. There was just a great conference this past week called Labor Notes in Chicago, where Christian Smalls was, people like Sarah Nelson and other great labor leaders were there talking about class struggle unionism, not just labor industry-wide trade labor unionism, but class struggle unionism. This is coming. This is what they're talking about. And it's militant, and it's not this patsy. In fact, in the book, oh God, I wish I had it with me. I was just talking about the other day. I was reading it. It's called Class Struggle Unionism by Joe Burns. Get it. It's great. And he talks straight up about the things that we will have to do, not just within the union, but outside of it, but letting labor lead. We will have to do things that you're scared to do right now, things that make your ears burn, things that make you get afraid. We're going to have to do them. Back in the day when we held hands and we blocked scabs from entering buildings, we're going to have to get back to doing that. We're going to have to reclaim the strike. We're going to have to do things that you're afraid to do, that we're all afraid to do, because we haven't had to do them in a long time. But desperation is coming. If it's not already there for most, it's coming. Okay. And I'm telling you, if you're not prepared to do more than just bitch on the internet, if you're not prepared to do more than get your feels up when somebody says the Democrats are part of this, if you're not willing to take direct action, we're going to lose. We're not just going to lose, but we're going to get rolled. And you know what happens when 16 million new people go on unemployment? People start dying. This is not a joke.
Right.
People start dying. So get it through your heads.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.